Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be showing you the best and most optimum settings in Fortnite to boost FPS. Anyways, let's get started. The first setting depends on your monitor, and if you're having FPS drops, then I recommend you reduce your resolution. Remember, this mainly depends on your monitor, but the typical monitor is 1080p with an aspect ratio of 16:9. The next is frame limit. To reduce the screen tears, you want to match this with your monitor. Remember, a high refresh rate monitor makes your game look smoother. Just because your FPS may be 200 but your monitor refresh rate is 60Hz, then you will only be seeing 60 FPS along with other additional consequences such as screen tear. So match the frame limit with your FPS. If Fortnite doesn't have an option for yours, for example my monitor is 72Hz but there isn't an option for 72. So I limit my frames to 60 and I make sure that my settings get me 60 FPS precisely. If you're maxed out and you have a 60Hz monitor and you're getting more than 100 frames, I think you need an upgrade then. Our next setting is 3D resolution. The lower this is, the more frames you get, however the uglier your game looks. You should always do 100% and reduce your display resolution. Only reduce your display resolution once, and if you're still getting low FPS after watching the whole video, then keep decreasing until you get ideal frames. For our next setting is view distance. Many players get confused with this and think maxing this out will let you see players further. But this is wrong. Enemies will always appear from a set distance no matter what your setting is, whether that be near or epic. Our next setting is shadows, and if you're a tryhard, then turn shadows off completely. In some areas where it's dark and players could be hiding, you'll be able to spot them easy and faster. However, if you still want them on to make your game look nice, then reduce them by at least 1. If that means turning them off, then do it. Frames are more important than the looks in competitive play. One tip to remember for all games is that shadows use the most GPU power, so turning them down will give you the best results. Our next setting is anti-aliasing. This setting smooths down those jaggedy edges which puts on more stress in the GPU, so reducing these will improve FPS. However, at least keep them on medium as minimum, unless you really need to turn them off. Our next setting is textures, and if you're on a potato, then you're gonna have to turn them down. However, you can max these out or at least put them on high, because textures don't really use much GPU power in contrast to shadows, and your game will only look uglier, so I don't recommend lowering textures unless you're on a potato. Our next setting is effects. Higher effect settings add details to certain objects and interactions, so increasing effects will mean more detail on stuff like grass, particles, critical hit circle and harvesting, etc. These things are irrelevant, and turn these all the way down to low for more FPS. Our next setting is post-processing. This option is to do with colors and contrast and makes objects pop out and appealing to the eye. If all you want is frames, then reduce this all the way down. Our next option is VSYNC, and in my opinion it shouldn't even be an option. It gives input lag, which isn't ideal in competitive games such as Fortnite. When trying to improve your aim in Fortnite, the last thing you want is a setting that delays your inputs and making you train your aim falsely, because once you get that pinpoint muscle memory, and it was with VSYNC, expect consistency to be your enemy. In my case, when I had VSYNC enabled, I would get a lot of FPS drops and stutters in some areas, but turning this off fixed those FPS drops and stutters, along with my aim being significantly improved. Our next setting is motion blur, and like VSYNC, it's an option you don't want on for competitive play unless you really like the blur effect and the reducing FPS doesn't bother you much. However, if you're having FPS issues, then turn this off. Our final option, which is allow multi-threaded rendering, should always be kept on, because I'm sure all your processors have more than one core and thread. If not, I don't even know how you're running Fortnite. But that wraps up for today. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a sub, but anyways, stay tuned.